Welcome back to another edition of That Fuzzing Rock Show interviews. If you guys dig what you see, make sure you click like on the video. Follow us over on Facebook at facebook.com/That Fuzzing Rock Show. Over on the YouTube side, it's youtube.com/That Fuzzing Rock Show. Subscribe. Make sure you click the notification bell. Let you know when we go on the air every time we go live. And definitely share with your friends. Now, check out this next interview. Guys, welcome back to another edition of That Fuzzing Rock Show interviews. And I am, again, blessed to be graced with another amazing musician. Been a fan for a long time. Ricky Phillips from STYX. Sir, how are you today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm assuming you are too. You look great there. You have, I got to grow that out. I like that. That'd suit me right, I think.
Let me tell you, man, if you dyed it green, I'd be on it. Let's put it that way.
All right.
So first of all, let me welcome you to the show. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us. I'll try not to take up too much of your time, but I do get a little yappy. So if I do, just to tell me to shut up and we'll move on. But we're here to talk mainly about the tour that you guys are just about to go on.
Okay.
I think it starts in like April, beginning of April, somewhere around there. And but you guys are playing here May 9th in Albany, New York, and May 9th at the Palace Theater in Albany. Tickets are at the box office or at Ticketmaster.com if you guys want to go check that show out. And I strongly suggest you do because these guys put on an amazing show. We'll get to all that in just a little bit. Let's start out by talking about, we'll talk about getting to know you a little bit. How did you first get into music?
I guess I'd have to blame my dad. He was, always playing the guitar. They bought me a piano when I was 9. I still have it. 1959, Baldwin Acrosonic. And so I didn't have a 59 Les Paul, but I had a 59 piano. And so that was kind of I think I had 7. I'm not joking, not making that number up. I believe it's 7. I can count 7. There might have been another one. Piano teachers. And I don't know. I never... something about the way they taught piano back in those days. The Volga Boatman wasn't my favorite song, and so I was kind of
of course
it didn't really work for me. But I love playing piano, so I was always playing the piano, and I could play way better on my own than I could with the teachers. So at a certain point, my parents said, "Why are we wasting this money?" So and my dad had a guitar I was always stealing whenever he was at work or whatever, stealing out and playing on it. And buddy of mine and I started our first band when we were about 12 or 13. We put the band together. We were both guitar players in that band. And matter of fact, he went on. He just retired last year. He was with the Creedence Clearwater. That was out without Fogerty. The rest of the guys.
Yeah.
Revisited, and he played keyboards and guitar and sang all the high harmony.
Nice.
So his name's Steve Gunner, and he just retired last year. But he was. He and I did a lot of stuff as kids together. We played piano together. We played duets on the piano. And then we discovered the Smothers Brothers because they were funny and they would sing on their TV show.
Yes. Yep.
So we're kids, so we're singing, their silly songs and whatever else. But then, the Beatles and the Yardbirds came along and things started to get a little bit serious. And so we put our first band together, which was called the Warlocks, and we rehearsed in my parents' garage, true garage band. And
there you
go. And from there it just all kinds of stuff happened. But that's how I kind of got my start. I had a Dan Electro that used Dan Electro my parents bought me, and we would plug 2 guys into one Silvertone amp kind of stuff, right?
Hell yeah.
One cool side note is our drummer had Trixon drums, which I don't know if they made them for very long, but they were conical. So the kick drum head was bigger than, and it went down to a smaller.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they're cool looking. They didn't make them for very long. You're right about that. So you talked about some of your older influence. Is there any new music out that's got your ear?
I like Lark and Poe. The two gals, I went to see them here in Austin,
Mhm.
and went back and talked to them, and now they're actually being represented by Red Light, which is our management. And there's stuff I always, whenever people ask me that, I freeze up and I can't remember the names of people. But I do like things I'm hearing. There's some people deviating and trying to get away from machines taking over the world,
Mhm.
and I like that, of course. Um, yeah, I'm stumped right now, but as we go on, maybe I'll think of somebody.
Right.
But I do hear stuff out there. There's a lot of talk right now, and I'm loving the fact that there is a lot of talk about everything is being condensed down, so they're knocking the bridge out of everything. And I think for all of us songwriters and people who have played on great music over the years, you realize that there's the verse and the chorus, but the bridge is really there as the reflection of everything, or there's another dimension. That's always the place where it deviates for a moment and kind of puts the whole puzzle together. When without that, all you've got is a verse and a chorus. It's
Right.
just
Right.
very unsatisfying. But I've been
Yeah.
seeing a lot of people talk about that lately, and I love that forum that's out there. Um, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll add something besides a bridge, and there'll be four parts still.
Let's hope, right? So I got 5 questions for you. I'm going to kind of hit you with some rapid fire ones. And you
Sure.
already answered one of them. The name of your first band you said was the Warlocks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, do you remember the first gig that you ever played?
Oh yeah. It was it was a church on New Year's, and we played right up on, next to the pulpit, right on the, the preacher's stage there.
There you go.
And my mom did tell me after the show, she was standing next to the preacher, and he said, "Well, I guess we're okay. We can't tell if the lyrics are inappropriate because we can't really hear them over the guitars anyway." So, um, but we were doing everything from Beatles to Monkees. It
Yep.
was the time of good pop tunes, and we were doing them all.
Absolutely.
And our favorite song, though, there was a band. What were they called? They had a song called "The Witch." As a matter of fact, that's how we kind of came up with the name The Warlocks, because we liked that song, and it was one of those down 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 down, and we hadn't really heard any grungy sort of sounding in your face music yet.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
when that came out against the Archies or something, then we were like, "Whoa, that's cool."
There you go. What was the first album you ever owned?
The Beach Boys, Surfing Safari. Yeah, yeah. My dad bought. I just begged my dad to buy that record, and it was, thank God for the Beach Boys, because if I would, and the Beatles, but to learn melody and to learn structure, to learn vocal harmonies, man, it served me well, and I'm so glad that as a kid, I probably got that from my dad, because he
Mhm.
was always singing something. And so yeah, that's my first record. Yeah, I was wore that one to pieces.
There you go. Now this one may be tough.
Okay.
Have you ever got rid of an instrument that you still wish you had?
Mm, yeah. 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 I had a couple, actually. I had one that was stolen, which I had a 61 stack dog P bass
Mhm.
that I'm suspect of a friend who may have had something to do with that, but I'll never see it again. But that's the rare bird of that all bass players, the 61 stack knob. They made them partly in 62, but very few. And so that's kind of the holy grail of basses that I had in my possession. I have pictures
Right.
of me playing it. But I also sold a Gibson guitar that was, what the heck was that thing called? It wasn't a Les Paul. It was sort of like their knockoff Les Paul, but it had a thing, and I'm blanking on what it was called. But I sold that one. What else did I sell? Oh, I sold Oh, geez. This is the worst one. This is the one that goes into my heart. I had a 62 double neck bass 6 Gibson black.
Wow.
And I wasn't using it. And I had the original case. I had everything. It was in fairly mint condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't using it, was hauling it around. And I can't remember if I needed money but I remember this kid begging me to sell it to him. And I would say, no, I'm not selling it. And one day he showed up with like 3 guitars, all worthless. But he said, I'll give you these 3 guitars for your double neck. And I took the trade. And
Oof.
yeah, it was that hurts.
Ouch.
It always will hurt.
So if you're out there, dude, get that thing back to me, please. All right. So this one's an even bigger one. These are pretty funny when I hear them. But do you remember what your biggest onstage oops was?
Oh man, I've had a lot, I'm sure, over the years. Let me think of one that probably was glaring and embarrassing. Probably as time goes on, you figure out ways to kind of make your flubs musical
Right.
and not so noticeable. But so it'd probably be some of the Babies days when Jonathan Kane and I were still kind of learning the catalog, and they had us out there immediately performing. But I my very first gig with the band was at the Whiskey, and we got a write up in the LA Times the next morning, and I got a nod as a great addition to the band. So I was like, whew, they didn't comment on my f ups that for my first gig. I'm sure there were a handful, but Jonathan and I were kind of just thrown to the wolves right there for a while. We were woodshedding right before we'd walk on stage. Now wait a minute, did the bar with the bridges goes to the G, right? Yeah. Okay, got it. We'd be jamming, and then we'd be there we were when the lights were on. But yeah, I don't know of any. I can't think of anything where I was, you got your underwear hanging around your ankles or anything like that. But I'm sure they were there. And even today, we'll all make some blunder at some point. And we never know why or how did that happen? Sorry guys. But yeah, any musicians that says that they play perfect every night are lying through their teeth.
Of course, sure. Do you get the look? Do you get like the look from Tommy?
Oh, I've gotten that. Oh yeah. What do they call it? The stink eye? Yeah, I've gotten the stink eye from because it's always you're right. When it happens, it's generally in a place that's like, oh no, not there.
Right.
I will say this: you never make that mistake again. that's one thing it teaches you.
I'll bet not. So, I mean, over your career, you've been with some pretty heavy hitters. You mentioned the Babies. You worked with Coverdale, Page, Nugent. The biggest one, Bad English. I mean, that was what John Waite and Neil Sean, John Kane, and
Dean
Castronovo, right? Yeah.
We found this kid out of Portland, Oregon, this little Dean Castronovo, not so little. And but he didn't tell us that he could sing like Steve Perry. We didn't know. We hired, I think we auditioned 31 drummers, and we brought him down and we sent him home because John turned to me and said, he's so edgy and he's great drummer, but gosh, there's so much going on. He said, I can't find the pocket where I need to sing. So we sent him home. And Neil and I got together because Neil and I just loved him immediately. We were just, and we kept auditioning for a few more days, and 3 or 4 more days. And the guy that we were looking for, we just weren't finding the guy. And so Neil and I said to John, we said, dude, can we get the kid back from Portland? Let's just work with him and let him know what we're looking for. Well, I think he's got the goods. Well, thank God we did, because we had a number of first takes on the first Bad English record, but in the second Bad English record, I think Dean and I had something like 7 or 8 first takes together, and I think he had another one where I had a flub someplace where I had to go punch it in. But he and I had I think 7 untouchable first takes on the second Bad English record, which is What's too bad we split up kind of at the release of that record because it didn't get its day in court. But that was a really strong record.
Now you've done 4 albums now with STYX, correct?
Okay, let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
All right. So that was after Bad English. You joined STYX in 2003. You were splitting duties with Chuck.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Were you kind of hooked up with STYX? How did you get that call?
We opened up for STYX in the Babies, and so they first saw me perform, the whole band perform, then in '79, and Tommy and I became friendly, sort of just because of, I don't know, being around each other at awards shows, certainly on the road back then.
Sure.
And just certain things. We always, I remember at the NAMM show, he and I sort of gravitating towards one another because we were here at the NAMM show, and it's just a hustle and bustle and all this and everything. You kind of needed somebody to hang out with as a buffer, if nothing else. And so over the years, we just whenever we saw each other, it was as a friendship that was no big deal. But Dean Castronova has a rival here, and they're really good friends. Todd Zuckerman, the drummer in STYX. He and I were hired on a session, and we cut this guy's record in a day. I've told this story before. We just gelled, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. Well, I would think something, he would respond to it. He would think something, I would respond to it. And it was just like boom, boom, boom. We cut this guy's record in a day. So that was cool. But then he was in STYX, and so I couldn't use him on. At that time, I was pretty much producing. I wasn't in a band. I had been producing for a couple of years. Anything from commercials to songs to whatever it was. I did all the music for a children's television show that was on Nickelodeon, all kinds of stuff. But I loved writing and I loved recording. I kind of had switched hats, and I really wasn't even thinking about doing another band.
Right.
And then I get this call from Dean one day, and he said, "Hey man, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, I just got in from Costco. Something exciting. He goes, "Well, you got to sit down. You got to sit down." I said, "Okay, I'll sit down. Sure." He said, "I just found out that he said, this is so not rock and roll, but he comes from a jazz background. He goes, the bass chair in STYX has become available, and I heard that Tommy Shaw's going to give you a call and blah blah blah, and ask if I could call first." And so that was cool. How cool is that? That a guy that you love his playing already, you love the guy,
right,
and he wants to make that first phone call. So when I did talk to Tommy, and he said, "I'm going to send you over stacks of records," because I was in. It was, let's go, let's do this. And so,
well, how could you not? I mean,
and I couldn't tell anybody. Wow. It was sworn to secrecy. So they sent me the stack of CDs and everything, and I'm learning songs. And I'm back, and my studio was behind my home, and I was renting my a room out to Chuck Wright, another great bass player, great killer bass player, buddy of mine. And when he finally I was able to tell him, he was going, "Man, I was wondering, because I was hearing all this STYX music coming out of your studio, and I'm thinking, where's this sudden love for STYX? I mean, every day." So, but and I was invited to Tommy's birthday party. He said, "You don't know, you've never met JY, and you give you a chance to meet management. Why don't you come to this birthday party we're having?" And so I get to this birthday party, and I look around the room, and I see, and I still can't. This is at the time where I still couldn't tell anybody.
Sure.
It was under wraps.
Yeah.
And my buddy Dave Amato, who's done a lot of stuff, but he's been with REO for the last number of years with great guitar player. He comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, you got something you want to tell me?" Because he's all of a sudden realizing, why are you here at this birthday party? And he had heard a rumor from somehow And I couldn't say anything, so I didn't. But I looked around the room and I saw every guy that I thought was a great bass player in Los Angeles was in that room. So I realized there was backup, and there was a reason all these people had been invited there. So it was a little bit of a wake up call for me that I better have my pencil sharpened when I go in, which I did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
2 days later, I think I walked in and played with the band, and I had done my homework, so it worked out. But yeah, that was kind of a funny moment where I realized this is my gig to lose.
And you didn't, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, right. So now, we said you appeared on the four albums with STYX. The most recent one is Crash of the Crown.
Yeah.
So when you're when you guys sit down to start making new music, what is the writing process like for STYX? Is it all there for you and you have to play it, or do you add your stuff to it? Like, how does that work? How do you guys write the songs?
Well, I write my own bass parts, but there is one song that I know that Will, who is part of the band now, Will Ivankovich, who's produced the last 2 records, great producer, great musician, great guy.
Absolutely.
He was stuck. He said, "Ricky, I know that I've just heard it because when I was writing the song, blah 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 blah, I'm stuck on this bass part." But it was one of those bass parts I thought I'd written that was like really special. So that was a hard one. But that's really the only time that I can think of where there's something that I couldn't make mine or bend it my way. This one rigid piece, and I still think you made a mistake. Mine was better. No, and that all goes away because you can't even remember what you wrote. You've heard when you hear what makes the record.
Sure.
You forget what. So these are very small battles, but I generally spend a lot of time in my studio with headphones on, listening down to the demos that we do of songs, or they've done maybe on them as they were writing it. It was a good enough demo to show. And then generally we'll get together somehow. Every record's a little different. Like, for example, the Crash of the Crown we did during COVID. So Todd did all his drums from his studio at home. Lawrence Gallants did all his parts. He may have gone to Nashville for a minute, but he did most of his stuff at home in Toronto, Canada. I chose to go mask up. We shot our temperature through the forehead as we walked. We all wore masks. Will and myself and Tommy in Nashville, where we recorded that record. We actually recorded in Tommy's studio. And so Tommy has another house there where I would stay. Then I would come every day, do my tracks. I got my tracks done in like 4 days, I think. It's a big record, so I came really, really prepared. Had all my notes and everything in it, so I could bounce ideas. If I had alternate, if they didn't like something, I'd have something ready to play them. And it went without a hitch, man. We were cutting 3 and 4 tracks a day, and scrutinizing. We put the time into going over things and changing things, maybe remiking, or let's try this bass, let's try that bass. We had fun. It wasn't just zoom, but we got it all done in the week's time we had.
And you guys killed it. Debuted at #1 on the Billboard Rock Album Chart. I know you had a number one single with Bad English. Is that the first #1 album that you've had?
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
It's a head scratcher because it's hard to even fathom. It's hard to believe, to be honestly, to have the #1 single was, I think, more, thank God we did, because that's huge.
Sure.
For jump-starting a career, and that was our first record. So, but having a #1 album, I mean, that's a lot of people that liked your record, and especially now, and during COVID, where no one had anywhere to go, so there were a lot of people paying attention. A lot
Oh,
of
absolutely.
people were listening to music, and it's I haven't ever patted myself on the back. I would pat more Tommy and Will on the back for, although everybody's performances were extraordinary on everybody delivered the goods. So Todd's drumming, Lawrence's, we wanted to do a prog thing. We didn't want to just do a cheese ball, cheesecake, sticks. Uh, uh, and I'm not. By the way, I didn't mean that like that's what Styx records are. I'm just saying,
Right.
to get radio airplay, there is a certain sort of schematic, and we said screw that. And so we didn't go for the radio airplay. We went for the songs,
Yep.
and look what happens. It's crazy. So yeah, it's just hard to believe though.
Now, do you have a favorite? I know this is like kind of like calling your, trying to pick which kid is your favorite. I get it, but do you have a favorite Styx song to play?
Oh yeah, there's some, yeah. There's a song off the new record called To Those, which is me wanting to be, because I always wanted to be John Entwistle. And I mean, I'll cough it up right now, right up front. But it's the first song I've been given where I could go to the wall like that. So that's fun. We just started doing it. It's more of an album track. But it's actually a great opening track. So you always try to find something to come out to get people up and in the mood, and that song kind of does it. So that's fun. There's just actually, I've kind of diverted. What was your initial question again?
What is your favorite Styx song to play?
Okay, man.
Like I said, I know it's like trying to name your, your favorite kid. But
there's a different, I know, but it's different because sometimes I just get off on a song because it always gets the audience going. Like Too Much Time on My Hands is a song that's just, you can hear that surge in the first 2 seconds of the song. Here it is. And Come Sail Away gets the same thing. But
sure.
Oh mama, I'm in fear for.
Oh,
man, you hear that beginning and you're just hooked. You're in, yeah, goosebumps, right?
it made my hair on my arm stand up. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's always a big one for me. I love singing it with Tommy and the guys. Gosh, there's a lot. There's actually some songs that we don't generally do that I've liked. That's I guess the luxury of having so many songs that have gotten some traction, because there's songs that we haven't done in a long time, like Sweet Mademoiselle. It was a song way back in the day that I was a rocker, but I heard Sweet Mademoiselle and I thought, those freaking harmonies are badass. I mean, wow, whoever, Tom, I think Tom, I don't know if Tommy solely wrote that song or if he wrote it with Dennis or what back in the day. I wasn't around then, but whoever contributed on that song, they hit a home run. But those are songs that we rarely do. There's just there's abundance of wealth and song choice that
sure.
We try to, and Will is really good at this. He tries to construct the sets so that what we've lately been doing, we'll probably do when we come to your town, is do the 2 sets where we give an intermission in the middle. We can do a big hour, little break, and do another big hour. We love doing those because we get to play more of the songs and go deeper into the set list.
That's awesome. Now, just on a side note, you said Too Much Time on My Hands. You guys did almost like a Zoom video for two. And let me tell you something. There's one part in there. I think it says when he says the part where he says I'm a criminal, and then Gowan looks at the camera and he turns into a cartoon.
Right.
I want to get a print of that and put it on the wall so bad because it's just cool looking. But that whole video, the way you guys did it was just it was cool, man. It was really
we
cool.
were bored. we were in our homes. We hadn't seen anybody else in months.
Right.
And we were going crazy. And so we decided to do that video. Actually, I think that was a brainchild of Lawrence. And he's got I don't know if you saw that we did something called the something coffee machine. It's just stupid stuff that we put out because we were bored. We're just
I'll
bored.
have to look it up for sure. So let's talk about the tour. You guys were out in the summer with REO, Speedwagon, and Loverboy. It was you guys played locally here at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. Good to give them a shout out,
Yeah.
This time you're making a stop at the Palace Theater in Albany.
Yeah.
Tickets are on sale at the box office or Ticketmaster.com. You guys can please make sure you go check this show out. You're not going to want to miss it. So do you guys have any openers, or is it strictly you guys?
I think it's strictly us. We've been doing a lot of that this year. Management told us at the beginning of the year that's what they wanted to do. You know, they don't miss you, they don't go away. So we're not doing. Last year when we did that run with the two other bands, Loverboy was great.
Yep.
Just so good. And then REO, of course, we've been known to tour with them. Who knows, countless times. Sure. And but they wanted us to kind of do the theaters and stay out of the bigger venues. We're going to do some stuff coming up here with Joe Bonamassa in a bit.
I love Joe, man. What an amazing musician.
He really is. He's the best. And so this year is going to be a lot of that, and we like doing it because, as we were alluding to before, you and I, that we like to go into plan more songs.
Absolutely. So what's next for you guys after the tour's done? What's next for you guys? You have new music coming, or?
Oh, we've been writing, and all of us have, and so I would anticipate they'll find a break for us to go in and start carving, but we're not there yet where we've had that definitive conversation yet.
Sure.
But I do know that next year is going to be it may be more, whatever it is, it's going to be bigger shows. It's going to be less of what we're able to do this year. At least that was the plan at our beginning of the year. We always have a couple meetings where this is what we project for the next couple of years. And we generally stay 70% to that, whatever that is, that plan. But I think next year is going to be back to the bigger stages and the bigger venues.
Now, I have more questions for you, but I got to let you go because I know that I'm over time, and Amanda will probably shoot me if I keep
No,
over time.
you know what? Go ahead. If you got a few there, I've got the time. It's all good.
Well, I'll wrap it here, and that way you can come back some other time, and we can discuss other things. So, is there anything else you want to tell the folks before we wrap this up?
Well, I think everybody in the band, I could speak for everyone, is saying we're shocked and amazed and appreciative of the attendance and all of the sold out nights that seem to be happening in the big or small venues. And it's great because if you're supporting STYX, and just know that you're supporting your own Jones, because that we're going to keep going and till they push us off the stage. And with this kind of response we've been getting, it's just we talk about it. I mean, it'll be like, wow, that crowd tonight, what an amazing,
Sure.
It doesn't go unnoticed, and we do appreciate. I hate even using the word fans because that just sounds so cheeseball, but all the people that spend their hard-earned dough and their time and everything become to support the band, it's truly, truly appreciated.
It's all your extended STYX family out there. How's that sound?
Yeah, that's it.
So, folks, STYX is going back out on the road starting in April. Check your local venues for dates, guys. You don't want to miss this show here locally at the Palace Theater in Albany, New York on May 9th. Tickets go on sale, or tickets are on sale now, I believe. The box office or at Ticketmaster.com. For more information, you guys can check out STYXworld.com for everything STYX. It's up on there. PalaceAlbany.com, Ticketmaster.com, Facebook.com/STYX the band. Also check out RickyPhillips.com to figure out what Ricky's got going on. And so I have to give it up to you. Like I said earlier before, your background's better than mine. I'll try to improve it for next time.
Let's see what we got. There's just, oh, there's.
See, now you're just
Oh, wait a minute.
flexing.
There's Jimmy.
Now you're
He's
just
watching
flexing.
over.
See, now you're just flexing on me.
I got Jim. Oh, that's my dad underneath Jimmy there. So they're
there you
watching,
go. There you
they're
go.
watching over me.
So
Anyway,
listen, if you have anything laying around that you're not using anymore, I have a space available. Look at it right there. There's a big space available. We'll put that up there and we'll call it the Ricky Phillips wall. How's that sound?
All right. Duly noted.
Ricky, man, listen, dude, I appreciate you hanging out, and please stop back again. I'd love to talk to you some more.
Let's do it.
About all the other cool stuff you got going on. Good luck on the tour. I look forward to seeing you guys in May, and hopefully we'll get the chance to talk then in person.
Until we talk again, thanks, Fuzz, so much. Appreciate
Absolutely, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Phillips. Thanks, Ricky.
All right. Bye-bye.